Brennan Ruault's return to Parker Schnabel's crew sent shockwaves through the Klondike. For years, fans had watched him work under Parker, only to leave abruptly after a season full of tension, exhaustion, and constant challenges. That decision had left a mark on both crews, creating rivalries and expectations that lasted for years. Now, after 5 long years away, Brennan had made a choice that nobody saw coming. He was leaving Kevin Beets, a leader who had trusted him, to rejoin the very crew he once abandoned. The moment he told Kevin, it changed everything. Kevin had relied on Brennan's experience, his calm approach, and his knowledge of the mines. Brennan had been a stabilizing force, someone who could manage the heavy machinery, the demanding schedules, and the unpredictable conditions of the Klondike. Kevin believed he had a team that could handle anything. But Brennan's departure was a sudden reminder that nothing in gold mining was permanent. Faith Tang, standing nearby when Brennan delivered the news, could hardly speak. The stability of the Beets crew was shattered in a single conversation. Brennan wasn't leaving for any ordinary reason. He was leaving for Parker. That fact was crucial in the eyes of the Beets family. It wasn't just a loss, it was a betrayal. Brennan's history with Parker added layers of tension. Fans remembered how Brennan had walked out of Parker's operation years ago, worn down by the long hours, the pressure, and the relentless grind of Schnabel-style mining. That falling out seemed permanent, a clear break that everyone assumed would never be mended. Yet here Brennan was, ready to step back into the same environment, acting as though the years of conflict had disappeared overnight. For Parker, Brennan's return couldn't have been better timed. His season had already tested his endurance, pushing him to manage multiple wash plants, unpredictable weather, and the constant need for experienced operators. Parker's operation required skill and precision, and Brennan's return meant one less gap in the team. It wasn't just about manpower, it was about trust. Parker could rely on someone who understood the operation, someone who had once walked the same path, learned the same lessons, and understood the stakes. Crew morale improved instantly with Brennan back in the mix. It was a strategic win, a statement that Parker still had the influence to draw back top-tier talent, even those who had once left under difficult circumstances. Meanwhile, Kevin Beets faced the immediate consequences of losing Brennan. The vacuum left by his departure hit at the worst possible moment. Heavy machinery sat idle without operators. Workloads increased, and Kevin had to make split-second decisions. Should he bring in someone new with little experience, or force a crew member into a role they weren't ready for? Each choice carried risk, not just financially, but mechanically and emotionally. Kevin also had to carry the weight of expectation. For years, the Beets family had operated as a unified front, relying on loyalty and trust. Losing a team member to their biggest rival wasn't just a practical problem, it was deeply personal. Faith felt it too. She had worked tirelessly alongside Kevin to create a team built on reliability and faith in each other. Brennan's departure was a blow to that trust and the family's sense of stability. Rumors immediately began circulating on the claim. Some speculated Brennan missed the intensity and scale of Parker's high-speed mining operation. Others believed he wanted to repair a fractured professional relationship, to return and prove that he could handle the pressure that had once driven him away. Some suggested Parker had made an offer Brennan couldn't refuse, appealing to both his ambition and his experience. Whatever the reasoning, Brennan's decision was calm and deliberate. He had thought it through and committed fully. This wasn't impulsive, it was strategic. And the consequences were enormous for everyone involved. Parker now had a trusted operator during a season where experience could mean the difference between success and failure. Kevin was left to improvise and adapt, trying to maintain control of a situation that had suddenly tilted out of balance. Tony Beets, Kevin's father, would soon learn of Brennan's choice, and the consequences would be immediate. Tony was known for his bluntness, for speaking his mind without hesitation. Losing a skilled crew member to a rival would not go unnoticed. For the Beets, the Klondike was never forgiving. It demanded skill, endurance, and mental strength, punishing hesitation and exposing weaknesses instantly. With Brennan stepping back into Parker's crew, the balance of power in Season 16 shifted dramatically. Loyalties had changed, rivalries had deepened, and the pressure on Kevin and his team intensified. What had already been a challenging season became a powder keg ready to ignite. Brennan's return wasn't just a career move, it was a pivotal moment that would shape the season, fuel drama, and test the leadership of everyone involved. Kevin felt the pressure immediately. For years, the Beets operation had been a symbol of strength, confidence, and resilience. Backed by decades of experience and the leadership of Tony Beets, the team had maintained a legacy built on hard work and careful planning. But this season, something was different. Kevin could feel the weight pressing on him more than ever. The challenges weren't just in the ground or the machinery, they were coming from the competition next door. Parker was already ahead, using strategy and skill to dominate early season momentum. Kevin's expectation of a routine race for gold was gone. Instead, he faced a relentless, unpredictable battle, one that tested not only physical ability, but leadership, morale, and mental endurance. The tension was clear in every part of Kevin's.
Losing him to a new hire, it was a psychological blow, a reminder that even the most experienced miners could be outmaneuvered. Parker operated like a storm, turning chaos into progress, making decisions on the fly that kept his operation moving forward. Kevin's approach was different, shaped by years of tradition, measured planning, and the weight of family legacy. These were two styles colliding, two pressures converging, and Kevin could feel the strain pressing him toward limits he had never faced before. Kevin's crew tried to adjust, but the absence of Brennan left a gap in knowledge and experience. Tasks that once seemed manageable became overwhelming. Heavy machinery needed operators who could think fast and respond to changes instantly. Without Brennan, the Beets team had to rely on less experienced hands, adding risk and stress to an already tense environment. Meanwhile, Parker's operation surged ahead, using every advantage and every skilled operator to dominate production. The competition wasn't just for gold, it was for momentum, morale, and the psychological upper hand that comes from consistently outperforming your rival. Every day, Kevin faced the reality that Parker wasn't just mining gold, he was mining the confidence of his opponents. Every yard Parker gained widened the gap and increased pressure on Kevin. The Klondike's environment demanded resilience, endurance, and adaptability. Mistakes could be costly, and this season, every error carried more weight than ever before. The loss of Brennan wasn't just a missing hand on the crew, it was a missing piece of the strategy, a hole that needed immediate attention, and a stark reminder of the high stakes in front of them. Brennan's first day back with Parker's crew was a mixture of familiarity and tension. Though he had been away for 5 years, the routines, the machines, and the high-pressure pace were still second nature to him. Parker welcomed him with a calm but knowing nod, acknowledging the experience and skill Brennan brought back. Other crew members watched silently, understanding that his return changed the dynamics immediately. No introductions were needed. Brennan knew the workflow, the challenges, and the expectations. He stepped into the operation seamlessly, operating machinery with precision and confidence, showing that he hadn't lost a single skill over the years. Parker used this advantage carefully. He positioned Brennan where he could make the most impact, filling critical gaps in the operation. Heavy machinery required operators who could think fast and respond to changes instantly.
Think on their feet, adjust to unexpected issues, and keep production moving at high speed. Brennan excelled in all these areas. Within hours, he was running machines, overseeing tasks, and guiding less experienced crew members. His presence immediately lightened the load on Parker, allowing him to focus on larger strategic decisions. It wasn't just manpower, it was leadership. Brennan's return restored a level of control and efficiency that had been missing, giving Parker a significant edge in the early stages of the season. Meanwhile, the fallout for Kevin was immediate and visible. Tasks that had once been routine became difficult and stressful. operators had to be rotated into unfamiliar roles, and mistakes began to accumulate. Heavy machinery, meant to function in perfect coordination, faced delays. Production slowed, and tension grew within the crew. Kevin had to step in more often, making decisions he had once delegated to Brennan. Every choice carried consequences, and the pressure was magnified by the knowledge that Parker's crew was now moving faster and more efficiently. Kevin could feel the gap widening and knew that he couldn't rely solely on experience. Strategy, leadership, and adaptability were now more important than ever. The Beets crew began to feel the psychological weight of Brennan's decision. Losing a skilled operator to a rival wasn't just a logistical problem, it was a constant reminder that nothing could be taken for granted. Trust and loyalty, which had been the backbone of their operation, were suddenly called into question. Crew members whispered among themselves, speculating about why Brennan had chosen Parker, whether he regretted leaving, and how it might affect the rest of the season. Each conversation reinforced the sense of uncertainty, adding pressure to an already tense environment. Kevin had to maintain authority while also calming the crew, a delicate balance that required constant attention and careful decision-making. As Brennan settled into his role with Parker, he also had to navigate the past. Old tensions, unfinished business, and the memory of why he had left in the first place lingered beneath the surface. Crew members remembered the conflicts, the long hours, and the moments of frustration that had led to his departure. Parker's approach to leadership was intense and fast-paced, leaving little room for mistakes
or hesitation. Brennan had to adapt quickly, balancing his own experience with the expectations of a demanding leader. Every move mattered, and every decision could affect production, crew morale, and the perception of his loyalty. For Parker, having Brennan back was not just about skill, it was a statement. It demonstrated his ability to rebuild the team, attract top talent, and outmaneuver rivals. The psychological impact on Kevin was equally important. Brennan's return sent a clear message. Parker still had influence, opportunity, and the means to pull skilled operators away from competitors. This kind of maneuvering could shift the course of the season, not just in production numbers, but in morale, confidence, and momentum. Parker understood the power of this, and he used it carefully to maintain his edge. Kevin, on the other hand, faced a continuous uphill battle. Every day, he observed the Beets operation being tested by delays, miscommunications, and gaps in leadership. Brennan's absence highlighted the importance of experience and teamwork in the demanding Klondike environment. Machines that had once run smoothly now faced operational delays, and minor mistakes became magnified under pressure. Kevin had to think strategically, making decisions that would keep production moving while also managing the emotional strain on his crew. Each choice was critical, and the margin for error had shrunk dramatically. The tension between the two operations grew as the season progressed. Parker's crew, bolstered by Brennan's experience, quickly found a rhythm, operating like a well-oiled machine. Production surged, machinery moved efficiently, and morale remained high. In contrast, Kevin's crew struggled to regain stability. Mistakes, fatigue, and the constant pressure of being outpaced created stress and uncertainty. Each day brought new challenges, both operational and psychological, highlighting the high stakes of Klondike gold mining. The competition wasn't just about gold. It was about control, momentum, and proving who could handle the pressure of leadership under extreme conditions. Brennan's integration into Parker's crew was seamless, but it wasn't without moments of tension. Crew members had to adjust to his style and the fact that he had returned after years away. Old rivalries and memories of past conflicts occasionally resurfaced, reminding everyone that working in close quarters under extreme conditions can test even the strongest alliances. Yet Brennan's skill, professionalism, and experience quickly outweighed any lingering resentment. He became a stabilizing force, guiding the team through the complexities of high-speed mining operations. Kevin, meanwhile, realized that his leadership was being tested in new ways. The pressure wasn't just about moving dirt or finding gold. It was about maintaining confidence, morale, and efficiency under adversity. Every decision was scrutinized, every delay amplified, and every success measured against the rising performance of Parker's crew. Kevin had to think creatively, adjust to unexpected challenges, and find new ways to motivate his team.
The Klondike was unforgiving, and the consequences of failure were immediate. As the weeks passed, the season became a story of contrasts. Parker's operation, fueled by experience, strategy, and Brennan's return, moved with precision. Kevin's operation faced constant obstacles, testing resilience, adaptability, and leadership. The psychological impact of losing Brennan continued to influence decisions, interactions, and morale. The competition was no longer just about gold. It was a battle of wits, strategy, and endurance. Every choice, every risk, and every decision mattered more than ever. The next few days in the Klondike tested both crews like never before. Parker's operation, now strengthened by Brennan's return, moved with calculated efficiency. Wash plants roared, sluice boxes were cleared, and excavators operated at full capacity. Brennan proved invaluable, taking command of machinery while also mentoring newer crew members. He anticipated problems before they arose, adjusting controls, repositioning equipment, and keeping workflow steady. His experience allowed Parker to focus on strategy, planning routes for ore extraction, and maximizing gold recovery. The synergy between Parker and Brennan was apparent to everyone on site. Meanwhile, Kevin's operation faced relentless challenges. Machines that had once been reliable broke down at the worst possible times. Excavators stalled mid-shift, trucks experienced mechanical failures, and the smaller crew struggled to keep pace. Kevin tried to compensate, stepping in to operate machinery, giving instructions, and troubleshooting problems, but the pressure was mounting. Brennan's absence left a visible gap. Where once the workflow had been smooth, now delays were frequent, mistakes were more costly, and morale suffered. Every morning, Kevin had to regroup his crew, reassign roles, and find ways to maintain productivity despite setbacks. Tensions escalated further when Parker's crew discovered a rich vein of gold in a section of the claim that Kevin had been planning to mine. Parker acted quickly, deploying Brennan and other key operators to maximize extraction. By the end of the first day, the haul was impressive. The operation moved like a well-oiled machine, machines synchronized, workers motivated, and
production numbers climbing. In contrast, Kevin's crew faced delays and missed opportunities. The rich vein that could have boosted their output remained largely untapped because the smaller team couldn't respond quickly enough. The psychological edge Parker gained from this success was significant. The pressure on Kevin became even more intense as media crews filmed every move, documenting progress, setbacks, and crew morale. Every breakdown was amplified, every mistake visible to viewers. Kevin's decisions were scrutinized, and the comparison between crews was inevitable. Brennan's move to Parker's side wasn't just a strategic shift, it became a daily reminder of what Kevin had lost. Crew members whispered about the change in momentum, speculated on Parker's planning, and wondered if Kevin could recover before the season's end. Brennan, meanwhile, had to adjust to Parker's high-speed operation. While the work was familiar, the intensity was relentless. Machinery was pushed to the limit, and Parker demanded maximum output every day. Brennan handled the pressure, often taking extra shifts, troubleshooting complex issues, and ensuring that newer crew members followed procedures exactly. His skill in leadership kept the operation moving, and Parker relied on him heavily to maintain the edge over Kevin's crew. Every successful day reinforced the decision to bring Brennan back, strengthening Parker's position in the ongoing rivalry. Kevin tried to innovate to regain momentum. He experimented with shifting operators between machines, introducing new schedules, and adjusting workflow to improve efficiency. Despite his best efforts, results were inconsistent. Machinery issues, weather conditions, and the learning curve for less experienced crew members slowed progress. Kevin also faced the challenge of maintaining morale. Crew members were frustrated by setbacks, discouraged by the efficiency of Parker's operation, and concerned about the long-term impact of Brennan's departure. Kevin spent long hours talking to his team, trying to motivate them and keeping spirits high, but the pressure of the rivalry weighed heavily on everyone. As the season progressed, tension between the two crews escalated. Parker's crew celebrated milestones, shared successes, and strengthened the bond between experienced operators and newer members. Every win reinforced their confidence.
Kevin's crew, meanwhile, had to deal with the frustration of being outpaced. Minor mistakes led to serious consequences, creating moments of high stress and conflict within the team. The Klondike environment, harsh and unforgiving, magnified every challenge, making each decision a critical test of leadership, skill, and resilience. One particularly intense day highlighted the contrast between the two operations. Parker's team, led by Brennan, encountered a mechanical issue in the main wash plant. Brennan quickly assessed the problem, improvised a temporary fix, and kept production running while planning a permanent repair. Within hours, the issue was resolved and the operation was back on track, producing gold at full capacity. Kevin's crew faced a similar problem with one of their excavators, but the lack of experienced operators made the resolution slower and more difficult. Production slowed, frustration mounted, and morale dipped further. The difference in efficiency and skill became undeniable, emphasizing the psychological and strategic impact of Brennan's move. Brennan's presence also influenced Parker's approach to risk management. With a skilled operator he trusted completely, Parker could push boundaries, explore richer claims, and maximize output without fearing mistakes. Brennan's expertise reduced the margin for error and allowed Parker to take calculated risks that would have been too dangerous without experienced support. Kevin, lacking this level of support, had to be cautious,
Avoiding mistakes, but missing opportunities in the process. The disparity between crews widened, creating a clear advantage for Parker and highlighting the long-term consequences of Brennan's return. As the season moved forward, the rivalry between Parker's crew and Kevin's crew intensified. Every decision, every shift, and every move in the Klondike felt magnified. Parker's operation, now running at peak efficiency thanks to Brennan's return, seemed unstoppable. Machines operated seamlessly, workers anticipated problems before they occurred, and production numbers climbed day by day. Brennan's experience allowed him to not just operate equipment, but to predict mechanical failures, adjust processes, and mentor newer crew members to work more efficiently. Each successful day reinforced Parker's strategy and placed additional pressure on Kevin and his crew. Kevin, on the other hand, faced a series of setbacks that tested his leadership like never before. Every machine malfunction, delay, or miscommunication carried heavier consequences. Crew members who had relied on Brennan's expertise now struggled to operate equipment under intense pressure. Kevin tried to adapt, taking on more operational roles himself while coordinating the team and keeping morale intact. Long hours, unpredictable weather, and the constant pressure to perform created tension within the team. Arguments erupted over minor mistakes, frustrations boiled over, and Kevin had to spend extra time mediating conflicts, repairing relationships, and keeping the operation running. The psychological aspect of the rivalry became as important as the gold itself. Each crew was acutely aware of the other's progress. Parker's team celebrated milestones, shared successes, and bonded over victories, while Kevin's crew struggled to regain momentum. Every missed opportunity or delay reminded them of Brennan's absence and the advantage he now provided Parker. Kevin's frustration grew with every passing day as he realized that the season was no longer just about gold. It was about pride, loyalty, and maintaining the legacy of the Beets family. The tension reached a boiling point during a day of unexpected mechanical failures. A primary excavator in Kevin's operation broke down while in the middle of a critical excavation. With Brennan no longer available to troubleshoot, the crew struggled to find a solution. Production slowed to a crawl and morale plummeted. Kevin tried to keep the team motivated, but the stress was visible on everyone's faces. Meanwhile, Parker's crew faced a minor issue with one of their wash plants. Brennan quickly assessed the problem, implemented a temporary fix, and kept production running. Within hours, they were back to full efficiency and their output surged. The stark contrast between the two crews highlighted the strategic advantage Parker now held and deepened the tension between the teams. The rivalry wasn't just about machines and gold, it became a test of mental strength and leadership. Kevin's crew needed to perform under pressure without the stability Brennan once provided.
Each decision carried weight, and every mistake had consequences. Kevin had to constantly adapt, redistributing responsibilities, finding creative solutions, and pushing his team to maintain production.